and a good Monday. We welcome you into the Spotlight. Thanks so much for joining us. Hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday, ate a bunch of turkey. My name is Drew Brent. If you're in the market to buy or sell your home, give us a call today. It's 479-968-5668 or cruise on over to russellvilleliving.com. We have lots to be thankful for here at Olathe, and I have lots to be thankful for in my own life. And one of those reasons is sitting right here in the studio with me, my good friend Abbi Balch. Abbi, welcome to the Spotlight.
Thanks for having me.
I got to tell this story. I asked you to be on. I messaged you and I said, hey, would you like to come in and do the Spotlight? And usually when I ask this question, what I get is, oh, sure. Yeah. What time? Or, hey, yeah, I love that. Your response was, but why?
Yep.
Why was that the response?
I don't know. I don't get out much these days, and I don't feel like I do a whole lot besides work, but I guess I do a lot at work, so I don't know.
You know, it was just funny to me because that was the next one. Yeah, but why? Why do I want to do this? But that's selling things a little bit short, because what you do over at Joshua's Fine Jewelry is fascinating. What you do with the journey is outstanding, and what you do is trying to balancing that mom life while you've got a second one on the way is pretty impressive as well. So let's talk about the jewelry business first. Okay. You have been designing jewelry now for how long?
About 5.5 years. I started February 29th of 2016. So that's the only way I can remember it.
You've only technically been doing this for 2 years.
Yeah.
On a leap year time. My question is, I knew that you were going to go to Joshua's Fine Jewelry because we've been friends for a long time.
Yeah.
You and I, like, hard to imagine, but like coming up on a decade.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Kind of insane that it's been that long. And I knew that you were going over there, but did you stumble into the jewelry design side of this?
Oh, definitely.
How did this all go?
So before Joshua's, I was working at Starbucks, and I worked there for about 6 months, and actually was in a meeting with my general manager talking about how I wanted to become a barista trainer and a shift leader, and I was like planning my career path for Starbucks because I really liked that every day was different and it was challenging, but there was always a way to keep myself busy, which I really enjoyed. And I walked out of that meeting and had a text message on my phone from Nathan saying, hey, I'll know tomorrow if you have a job. So it was crazy.
And then all of a sudden, fast forward, you go to Joshua's. This is not a typical story in that, I think a lot of people, when you hear jewelry designers, like, oh, well, they do that locally. You became one of the most nationally recognized jewelry designers with this particular software that you were using.
Yeah.
All over the country.
Mm-hmm.
Walk me through that process and walk me through kind of the story there.
So I started working at the store in March, and in the summertime, we are not very busy at all. People are spending their money on vacations, which is great. And it's a great time for us to learn new things. And I had seen Nathan and Zach sit down with customers and design stuff and make some really cool things. And I just kind of sat down at the computer and started playing with it and made some really ugly things. And so that was probably in, I would say, June. Started in March, started playing on the computer in June. And then in September, I had sold my first ring.
I'm curious, too. You're playing around on the computer, you're playing around on the software. As you're doing this, are you saying to yourself, I never one time imagined that I'd be doing something like this?
Absolutely not. I was in school getting a music degree. At that time, I was going to be a music teacher. I was going to be an elementary music teacher or a junior high band director, and had never even been in a jewelry store in my life before working there. Because I just wasn't a jewelry person. I had one necklace when I started working there. I have a lot more than that now.
Right, yeah, I would imagine.
So.
I asked this question of everybody, and typically I ask it a little bit later on in the interview, but it kind of fits right now. Is 10-year-old Abby surprised at where Abby is right now? Would this come as a shock to her?
Um, Maybe in some ways, but when I was around 10 years old, um, I was writing television commercials about products, and I would go to my mom and I would be like, here's how they should advertise this product. And so I was already having that creative mindset, already creating things out of nothing, and just I didn't go into film, I went into design instead. So it's probably way off from where I thought that I would be at 10 years old, um, but it's still within that same line of where I had thought that I would be.
We were talking to Abbi Balch over at Joshua's Fine Jewelry. Hit him with that address, Abby.
310 West Main Street, 479-968-3117.
You can always catch our good friends over there, Abby, and then Nathan, Chris, Rachel, the whole gang is over there.
Mm-hmm.
So go by and see them. I want to get back to jewelry.
Okay.
But we're going to pause on that just a minute because there's a whole lot more to Abbi Balch than jewelry designer. I think some people would be surprised to know just how accomplished you are as a musician. You said that you were going to be a music teacher. Yes, so we all assume that you're pretty decent at music. What I know about you, though, is that you are multi-talented. What all do you play?
So my primary instrument right now is bass guitar. But I did not play bass guitar until I was probably a junior in college. My primary instrument that I have a degree in is French horn. I also played trombone for the concert band at ATU. And then I am well-versed, or was well-versed, in trumpet and baritone or euphonium. And I could do pretty much anything except for clarinet. Clarinet really always tripped me up. And with that saxophone, I can make the sounds on it, but my technique is awful.
Did you come from a musical family? A lot of people who come in to bands, they say that, this was always part of my blood. This was always something that I did. Was yours a musical family?
Yes, I started piano lessons in 3rd or 4th grade. And my mom really pushed me to do choir I only did it one semester, but she really wanted us to have that background. My family was super musical. My dad played trombone, my mom played clarinet, my brother was a drummer, my sister was a saxophone player, and my other sister was a keyboard percussion, because whenever they went to school, it was separated by drums and keyboard. Now it's kind of all the same thing, which is good for the person learning it. So I looked at it as my options are trumpet, tuba, French horn, and really that, because I wanted something different from what they had done. Really, my mouth is not built for French horn, but I have a really good music IQ and really good ear. So that's why I went into French horn. So,
your family now is also
yeah,
quite well versed in music. Because Joey, one of my best friends in the
Yes.
whole world, he's quite the accomplished musician as well.
Oh yeah.
He can do pretty much anything in my view. Is music what brought you two together?
Yeah, actually, we met when I was a sophomore and he was a junior. I could be off by a year. But we met for the All-Star Band Convention, which All-Star is different from All-State. All-Star is everyone across the state, but schools that are 3A and below. So you really get a shot for the schools that don't have specialized instrument classes and things like that. So he went to Danville, I went to Atkins, both 3A schools, and we sat next to each other at the clinic. And he was, I think, 2nd chair and I was 3rd chair. And I looked at him and I was like, I'm going to take that chair next year. And I did. I did. The next year, he, instead of sitting on this side of me where the chairs went up, he sat on this side of me where the chairs went down. And really that's because he forgot to audition and was panicked. And so he'll give you all the excuses that he can. But really, I had the better audition, so I got the higher chair. And it created this unspoken rivalry in my mind. And then we both ended up at Tech, both on the French horn line. And we're just friends for the entire time that we were on the horn line together. And after his last football season is when we kind of started dating. So.
Okay. I did not know the first part of that story. I knew about the Arkansas Tech side, but I didn't know that y'all knew each other in high school. Okay. So you've got this unspoken rivalry.
Yeah.
You know, when I went on my first date with Jamie, it was the very cliche, romantic, oh my gosh, I'm going to marry her. It was that cliche. Not you, though.
No.
You said, no, I'm taking your spot.
Yes.
Is there still a little bit of that unspoken musical rivalry now?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Now he's a guitar player. He's also a bass player. And so we play together for church. We both sing. So yeah, it's definitely still there. We were actually last night working on a mashup that I had in my mind. And so we're kind of like, we were hashing that out together. And he's definitely a better guitar player, better bass player than I am, because he's been doing it longer. And he plays a lot more often than I do. But I don't know. I feel like I have a deeper connection to it. I don't know. Maybe not. Because his dad was a guitar player too.
Right.
My dad was a bass player. My brother's a bass player. And that's kind of why I started doing that. So.
When you have these little family jam sessions, is there a little bit of one-upsmanship though? Every once in a while, just like hey, can you hit this lick? Oh yeah, I can hit this. I mean, is there a little bit of that?
I would love to say that there is, but I'm never attempting the lick. I'm never doing that. That's a behind closed doors. I'm going to figure it out. It's going to take me forever. But when I do figure out something really cool like that, I'm like, hey, look at this part that I learned for this song. And I'm going to play it that way every single time, and I'm never going to vary from it.
The family, your side, your Balch family astounds me. Not just because I've known you guys for so long and I know a little bit of your history, but there's so much that you're involved in that if you really take a step back and look at it, you can really be impressed. You're both also active in ministry. Musically, you're a former youth pastor, as I am. Talk about that balance a little bit, because the people who are actively involved in ministry oftentimes find it hard to separate what their life is versus what ministry life is. Have you been able to find that balance yet?
I think so. Our church is doing things very differently now, and it has really allowed us to take a break and take a breath, because it really is easy to get overwhelmed in ministry, especially when you're doing ministry with your partner. And so every moment that you have is some ministry moment, and
right.
It's so frustrating. And so it's so much easier now to take a step back and to really think about, is this ministry minded, or is this my personal life, or how do we incorporate the two without it being that frustrating, you're trying to preach to me type of thing.
Right.
So
I found the balance really difficult, as you may remember. You know, you'd try to do so much for the church, you'd try to do so much for that, a lot of other things kind of get left by the wayside. Now, as a dad and husband, you as a mom and wife, it seems like priorities kind of shift a little bit. They have to. How much different is ministry and motherhood as opposed to ministry and relationship?
Well, before, I was a youth pastor, and so I was dealing with teenagers and preteens who are making decisions that I made before, that I know if they would just make the other decision, this would be so much better. But I'm not their parent, so all I can do is love them through that decision. I can tell them my experience and hope that they can learn from that. And now I have an almost 2-year-old who does not understand his emotions at all. And so instead of he can't rely on my experience because he doesn't understand. And so now it's just teaching how to handle emotions, and which you can do with a teenager too. A lot of teenagers don't know how to handle their emotions.
Sometimes you can do that with teenagers.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can do that with teenagers. There are a lot of parallels to preteens and pre-threes.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. I mean, and I don't mean that in a disparaging way, but the concepts are very much the same. I remember when Nadora was younger, it was very hard for me to grasp the fact that she felt anger or sadness or something, but she felt anger and sadness in a way over things that I would obviously not feel anger or sadness for. But the experience in her life, these are the things that matter. So the emotions that she was feeling were just like the emotions that I would feel about something that was more, important or more pertinent.
Yeah.
With that perspective in mind, what has been the most challenging transition into motherhood? That was the most challenging transition for me as a parent, is realizing, okay, their emotions are real, and I can't really tell them to suck it up so much because they don't know that this isn't a thing. How has that been for you?
It's tough. It's very hard right now because the way that my child handles his emotions is physical.
Sure.
And so he wants to lash out or hit or do some, like run into something, I don't know, bang his head against the wall. He's done that.
I still do that. I still do that.
And so it's not, he doesn't understand, no, we don't hit. Or like, if he's hitting, I'm not going to hit him back because that doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
So it's, I won't let you hurt me. And so that's kind of the approach that I take. And sometimes, I separate us with a baby gate and we just sit there for a while and he's upset and I'm upset and we're just going to be upset for a while. But, he's safe through the whole thing, and that way I'm safe through the whole thing. 'Cause man, they're powerful.
Yes. Nobody told me how strong kids are. Like, I was always under this assumption that babies, toddlers, children were just fragile. And you obviously you want to be careful, but some of these kids I have seen, some of Adora's friends will just dive off of high things onto hard things and just bounce back up. If I jumped off the monkey bars like some of these kids do, I'd be dead.
Yeah.
Like currently.
Just broken in half.
Right. Just done, split open, done. But nobody told me how resilient kids are. Did that surprise you? Because it has surprised the mess out of me.
Every time he picks up a gallon jug or a toy, and a heavy toy, and raises it above his head, tips over the cat tower, picks it up, like every time I'm just like, I don't know where all of that muscle is, but it's somewhere in there, I guess. I don't know.
I have found, too, that Adora is the funniest person I know. In that, and sometimes she means to be, sometimes she doesn't mean to be. Is there anything that Boston has done that has been genuinely humorous that caught you off guard?
Oh my goodness. The facial expressions on this kid are just hilarious. And he does lots of head tilting. And just...
Where does he get that from?
I don't know. Probably me. I don't know.
I don't know. Do you head tilt?
I don't think so. I'm very conscious of it right now, so I'm probably not going to do that. But he's very expressive with his face. And right now he talks, but you have no idea what he's saying. We dressed him up like an Ewok for Christmas for Christmas?
Yes.
For Halloween.
Right.
I almost just said Thanksgiving. Oh my goodness. We
it's
dressed him up
season.
like an Ewok for Halloween. And it was very appropriate because he just and just like he'll tell you all about it, and you have zero idea what he's saying. So he's starting to get a little bit more coherent words now. They're not always appropriate sounding, but I feel like every kid has to go through that.
Right, everybody, and you film the child saying things that you can never show the general public.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
Every parent in America has done that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go back to jewelry for a minute.
Okay.
Your designs are award-winning. Is that correct? Okay, so you've got award-winning designs. You've got all of this success. I mean, do you find inspiration? Well, better question. Where do you find inspiration for the pieces you create?
So, primarily what I do is redesign. So I do a lot of bridal, like new bridal, where people come in and they say, we found this ring and this ring and this ring on Pinterest, and we really like these parts of them. Can you just mush them all together? And that's what I do. And so just being able to look at a picture and figure out the puzzle and basically reverse engineer it. But I do a little bit of free design where I design my own things. I've designed my own line before. And there's only one piece in the case still that's mine. And what I do primarily is redesign. So people come to me and they say, these are my mom's rings and my grandma's rings and my rings and things that I've accumulated over the years. And I want to take all of these diamonds and I want to make something that I really love. And sometimes it's, mom and grandma's jewelry is not their style. And so they want to redesign it. So I take everything. I take those stones, measure them, and those are my puzzle pieces. And then I have this map of this is kind of what they want. And it's not always pieces that fit to the puzzle. Right. And so I have to figure out how do I make these apples turn into oranges. Mm-hmm. And so it is very difficult. There are times that I get really frustrated because they don't want something that's very practical. But that's not their fault, that they have these stones and they want something different. So we usually can figure out a way to make it work by using some little tricks of the trade. And sometimes it's taking the base of what they want, making their stones fit, not exactly the way that they originally wanted, but in a way that they're still satisfied with and that they love and that is still unique to them.
You had a piece that was it Avengers themed? I feel like you had a couple of themed pieces.
Yes.
I would love for you to talk about.
Yes. So I've done several novelty pieces. I have a little fun every summer looking at what movies are going to be released, and so I'll design a ring to go with them. And there's so many that I've done that I've forgotten about and forgotten to post until like a month after the movie, and so I'm like, well, I can't post that now. I mean, I could, I guess. I don't know. But when Endgame came out, I did a Infinity Gauntlet ring. And basically took a picture of the Infinity Gauntlet, zoomed in, looked at every single metal detail, looked where every single little dot of whatever metal that would have been on a gauntlet, and worked that in with stones that are calibrated stones, because the infinity stones themselves are uncut. They are odd shapes that I can't work with on the computer. So I made it work for me, and made this really huge, hefty men's ring that looks like the Infinity Gauntlet. Now, I never produced it because I don't own the rights to it, but it's just fun to play with because we tell people all the time that we can design anything that you want. And so by doing this, I can show you like literally anything that you want. I looked at a picture and I made this. So
right. We're closing in on our final moments here. Mm-hmm. Two things real quick. One, this is a show that we try to sell the community here. You're from Atkins, Red Devil Pride, RDP. Why are you still here?
I've never really thought about it. But my whole family is here. They haven't always been here, but we're all back now. And not only just my family, but my husband's family as well. So it's really nice to have that family around when you do have littles, because it is helpful and it's great that they get to grow up with their cousins. It's also familiar. I've been to unfamiliar places, and I learned that I don't do well in a city of 1 million people.
Same. I don't do well in a city of 50,000 people.
Yeah.
Not my thing.
So I went to Walmart yesterday and I ran into my brother and my sister, and like at 2 different instances, and they never ran into each other the entire time there. So like, it's just, you can go anywhere in this town and see somebody that you know and that's familiar, and that's comforting.
The final thing, when I have people on this show that I know and I've known for a long time, I find that it's a little more fair that because I've put you in this uncomfortable situation on this show, on a hot seat that I know you were nervous about and you didn't necessarily want to do, because the but why thing. I find to close the show, it's better for the guests to ask me anything that they want for the final 3 to 5 minutes of the show, to really see if they can throw me off my game. Seeing as how you've known me for nearly a decade, the final part of the show is yours.
Oh man, that's so much pressure to put on me.
You're the host now, Abby.
Oh my goodness, I can't think of anything. I don't know.
That's better for me, actually, because there are too many things that I'm afraid that you might think about that I don't want you to think about.
Well, okay, I have a this or that.
Okay.
That's not a beans or no beans, because I feel like we've exhausted the beans or no beans.
Oh, it came up again today.
It did?
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm a beans person. I put corn in my chili. I don't know.
I put corn in the chili last night. I
saw
got destroyed for that.
I saw that. It's so good, though, isn't it?
It is really good. I'll have that for lunch again today.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah. So, with holiday season, Thanksgiving has just happened. Christmas is coming up. A lot of people will do another traditional Christmas dinner. Do you prefer canned cranberry sauce or fresh cranberry sauce?
Can I have a third option?
Oh, you don't like cranberry sauce at all?
None.
Oh, okay.
None. It's served at every Thanksgiving that I've gone to, every Christmas that I go to. And literally, this is what happens, Abigail. This is what happens. All right? At the Brent family Thanksgiving, there's going to be a thing of cranberry sauce. I don't know who puts it there. Nobody in my family eats it. It's always still there at the end of it, but somebody inevitably is going to put it there. On the other side, on my mom's side, somebody's going to put cranberry sauce there, and you'll get a couple of those slices because it's the canned thing. You'll get a couple of slices removed because my brother, Zach, eats it. Weird. And then it's gone too. And then you never see this again until the next November and December.
Yeah.
So I see no point in cranberries existing beyond ocean spray, quite frankly.
Yeah.
That's my this or that response.
Okay.
That's how I will respond semi-over dramatically.
Okay, well, you've been to Gunslingin' Burger, right?
Yes.
You've had the tequila burger with the banana on it.
I have.
See, that's how I think of cranberry sauce, because it's like sweet and tart, and then you put it on top of the dressing, and it's just with the salty, and it's a cool palate thing for me.
I can't do the texture.
Or when you're a kid and it just tastes like sweet and sour, and that's what you want to eat, because you're like, man, I'm eating dinner and not dessert. So.
Yeah, can't deal with that.
No.
But speaking of Gunslingin' Burger, Jeremy Hames on this show this week.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Abbi Balch.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being a part of the show today. And thank you for joining us here on The Spotlight. We've got big names coming up the rest of the week. As I mentioned, Jeremy Hames. Tom Camerling joins the show tomorrow, and much, much more. So stick around for that. If you're in the market to buy or sell your home, give us a call today. 479-968-5668. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.